Yahoo Sports senior NBA writer Vincent Goodwill. Vincent, we have not seen you in a while. We are so excited to have you back with us.
I'm sure Nick is happy for me to school him again.
Nick is so happy. Well, listen.
What's up?
Nick is coming off an incredible season for his team.
Oh, yeah.
In air quotes. He is in a great mood.
Oh, no, it's been wonderful.
He's in a good place right now.
Wonderful.
And
Vinny knows just what it's like to celebrate a Super Bowl as a lifelong Lions fan.
Which is why I quit the Lions 20 years ago.
How are you doing?
I don't sign up for that misery.
Sorry,
Talk to my dad.
Fans. My bad.
Vinny, it's time for us to go viral. Here we go. Number 2 overall pick, John Morant, has the Grizzlies sitting in the 8th seed right now, far above preseason expectations. But this season has not been without drama, as Andre Iguodala still refuses to report to the team. And yesterday, things got a little bit spicy on Twitter. Grizzlies forward Dylan Brooks said, quote, "I can't wait till we find a way to trade him so we can play him and show him what Memphis is about," which John Morant retweeted with an emoji. And Steph Curry came to his former teammates' defense, simply posting a picture of Iggy holding the trophy. As always, drama in the NBA. A little jealous.
I'm on Iggy's side in this.
NFL.
100%. Listen, there are different. You know how baseball's all these unwritten rules?
Yep.
The NBA doesn't have nearly as many, but there are some.
Which is?
And one is when a player near the very end of his career, a great player, a fringe Hall of Fame player, gets thrown into a trade. It's a salary dumping purposes to a rebuilding team. You buy that player out or you move on from that player. It's what you do. And the Grizzlies have refused to do it. And Iggy, for what might be the last year of his career, certainly one of the last couple, he wants to play for a contender. He didn't want to leave Golden State. So I'm on Team Iggy on this, and I think this is going to hurt Memphis as far as reputation with free agents moving forward.
Well, the guys who are saying they're young, and they don't understand the business of basketball and everything else, and they're just looking at it saying, we have something special here. Why don't you come join us?
And they are an interesting team.
And then on top of that, they're looking at us like, look, man, you're this old guy. If you come to practice, you're going to get hung up. like they want to show him. So I understand both sides of it. It's a rejection.
Yeah, well, Iggy's going to get on a different team somewhere in Southern California by the end of this season.
Or maybe next year.
Oh, wow. Wow. Vincent Goodwill dropping dimes already.
Time for some stories to start your morning. Dak Prescott was set to become the highest paid quarterback in the league, but with contract talks seemingly at an impasse, a recent report says the Dallas Cowboys are likely to use the franchise tag on Dak. Nick, would Dallas be making a mistake doing that, franchising Dak?
Nope. If Dak continues to insist that as the 9th or 10th best quarterback in football, he should be the highest or second highest paid quarterback in football, then the Cowboys are going to have no choice. However, if they do franchise tag him, they will be making a mistake if they do not start immediately working on 2021 contingency plans. Because if you franchise him this year, it could mean that you need a new quarterback next year or certainly the year after. So they have to start already working on that. But no, I don't love the franchise tag, but as long as it's around, this is the exact case it's there for.
Well, they need to decide if Dak Prescott's going to be their quarterback for the future. You can't just say it with the rhetoric and say Dak is our guy. You're going to have to actually show him. And even though, look, Jimmy Garoppolo just made the Super Bowl. And at one point, he was one of the higher paid quarterbacks in the league. So basically, when you sign one of these guys to one of these type of deals, everything else has to be airtight because he's not going to be good enough or great enough to elevate you above what you don't have.
Exactly right.
All right, moving on to another quarterback, Tom Brady. His Super Bowl commercial cleared up his cryptic tweets, but the report that the Patriots are willing to pay Brady $30 million to keep him in New England has his future still uncertain. Nick, good idea for the Patriots to pay Brady?
Not $30 million. Now, because I'm a players guy and because, God willing, one day far, far in the future, I'll get a contract based on past performance as well. I like the idea of it. But no, in a salary cap sport, this isn't baseball, man. You can't give Derek Jeter the Lifetime Achievement Award contract. I can't believe what I'm saying. The late, great Kobe Bryant, it really did, as salary cap sport, hurt the Lakers that they gave him a contract at the end based on past performance. The Patriots have always been run so well, they would never do something like this unless the owner, Robert Kraft, is meddling in it and saying, listen, this is an emotional decision, not a practical decision, which if they give Brady $30 million, that's exactly what it'll be.
Well, you got to think about the years that he took pay cuts, in essence, for them to surround the team with better players. situations that Aaron Rodgers didn't have to go through, situations that other players didn't have to, Ben Roethlisberger didn't have to go through, great quarterbacks. Now he's looking for it on the back end. If we're not going to compete, if you're not going to allocate those resources, then give me the money.
Yep, and I think he's got a bit of an ego, and I understand it, where he sees, wait, I'm scheduled to be the 18th highest paid quarterback in football next year. Give me a break.
All right, on to last night's Sixers-Miami Heat game down in Miami, and Philadelphia should have just stayed on the bus. Jimmy Butler poured in a season-high 38 points against his former team as the Sixers got mollywopped, 137-106. Philly has now lost 10 of their last 12 games on the road. After the game, Ben Simmons said simply, "We were soft." Vinny, is it time to admit the Sixers aren't going to live up to their potential? Or at least the preseason expectations for where this team should have been?
Nick, welcome. Welcome.
Where am I being welcomed to?
To the place that the Sixers have long been. Contenders, no. Pretenders, absolutely. Look, as long as their roster is currently constituted, with Embiid and Simmons being the headliners and being stubborn headliners, their games are so different that you cannot build around both at the same time and have a contender as long as Giannis is running things in Milwaukee. I'm not someone that thinks that Ben Simmons is not a superstar player or superstar talent. He is both. But you cannot pair him with his deficiencies with Joel Embiid and be able to call yourself a contender. It either has to be built around Ben Simmons' unique talents and his unique sort of flaws and holes in his game, or you have to build it around Joel Embiid and try to say, hey, we're going to build around a center and try to win in a game that's not tailored towards a center being a centerpiece anymore.
But by the way, doing that might actually be smart in 2020 because there is an element of zigging when everyone else is zagging. I'll go to the Patriots last year. The whole league is pass, pass, pass. We need as many corners on the field at one time. So the Patriots just said, okay, we will go old school. We'll have a fullback on the field. We'll have 2 tight ends. You'll have a bunch of 220-pounders or maybe 185-pounders. We'll have 240-pounders, and we'll maul you. I do wonder if the team built the right way around the most physically dominant center in the league by a wide margin, if that could be a championship formula. But you're absolutely right, not with Ben Simmons there as well. They have 2 guys who are so unique in what they do. Embiid because he's almost an anachronism in today's game, but still great at it. Ben Simmons because he is the best star in this league with one massive hole in his game of anybody. Those 2 guys both need a system built specifically around them.
Yep.
Unless Ben was going to take a leap, and he refuses to.
Well,
and so because of that, sorry to interrupt, because of that, right now they are stuck in the mud. But what is so disappointing to me is I was so high on Milwaukee this year. I thought the East had 1 contender and 14 pretenders because I thought Milwaukee was going to do what they've done. So there is no shame in not being as good as Milwaukee. There is immense shame in right now this morning looking up in the standings at Indiana, who just got Oladipo back. And Miami just crushes you. Miami, who should not be the 4 seed while you're the 6. Boston and Toronto, Boston overachieving a bit, Toronto a great infrastructure. There is no reason Philly should be the 6th seed in the East, even if they can't win a title because of Milwaukee. The way they've underachieved, the way they've been horrifying on the road, that's immaturity. I think Brett Brown's got to own some of this. And I think that Elton Brand, maybe the team hasn't been built exactly right.
Well, here's the thing. We're thinking they're built around Joel Embiid, right? But the moves that they've made in the offseason have shown that they've been tailoring themselves more towards Ben Simmons. When you bring in Al Horford, we're saying that's Joel Embiid insurance, but actually that's a player that can swing to the outside, that while Simmons drives, you have a player who can space the floor. There's no Jimmy Butler anymore. So that means a 4th quarter player who handles the ball a lot, who meshes with Joel Embiid, personality-wise and game-wise, is no longer there because he does not mesh with Ben Simmons. And keeping Brett Brown, I think, has been holding this franchise back. I don't think he's a bad coach, but I don't think he's a great coach. And I wonder if the shelf life on him with this particular team, like Nick, I'm a proponent of there's 5 or 6 good coaches, 5 or 6 bad coaches and a bunch of dudes in the middle, and he's in the middle, if not trending towards the back end of that.
Well, let's talk about what we just saw last night. Is it possible they paid the wrong guy? They just paid Tobias Harris. They let Jimmy Butler walk. Would they have been better served switching that up a little bit just to help mesh these two? Because breaking them up, Embiid and Simmons doesn't seem to be an option.
I think it might have been a mistake for Philly to pay either one of those guys. And here's what I mean. I think Jimmy Butler's going to be at his absolute best, Jenna, in the situation where he's in Miami. Give me my team. I'm going to explain it to these young guys. Now, obviously, Jimmy's playing better than Tobias. I just wonder if we would have been seeing this version of Jimmy in Philadelphia.
Sure.
And I know they can't let them both walk. Tobias got to play better. I mean, flatly. We knew when they signed Tobias to a max deal, he's not your prototypical max player, but he's got to play better.
Well, here's the thing. Tobias is one of those guys, when you look at the box score, you look at the averages, can average around 18 a game. When you need 14, he gives you 18. When you need 24, he gives you 18. Like, the ceiling on that has to be higher, especially when you're a prime time fourth quarter scorer who has to create his own shot. And for Jimmy, it's not that you couldn't sign Jimmy, it's that you have to turn the team over to Jimmy and his personality, and they didn't want to do that.
Listen, the trade deadline's in 2 days. Can I just throw out a fake trade that there's no chance of happening that's going to get 2 fan bases mad at me because they both will hate it, but it's really interesting thought experiment? No. Joel Embiid for James Harden. Harden and Ben Simmons games match up so much better. You feel like the Rockets, if they're moving on from Capella, if you actually think, as I think you do, that they have a hard ceiling where they're at now, Russ and him, it's an interesting one. Now, again, Rockets fans are going to say I'm an absolute clown, and Sixers fans are going to be even angrier.
Russ and Embiid don't get along, do they?
Well, you'd have to work that out. You'd have to work out the personality deficiencies.
So
again, there's not going to be any blockbuster trade in the NBA this year.
No.
It'd be a fascinating one. It's not going to happen. Just throw it out there.
So wait, what is Simmons going to do when Harden has the ball and vice versa? Because neither one of those guys really likes to play with others.